How to tell if someone is on drugs. It can be difficult to tell if someone is on drugs, especially if you don't know what to look for. If you think someone you know might be using drugs, there are certain signs to look out for. One of the most obvious is a change in attitude. The person may seem more paranoid or agitated than usual. They may also become very talkative or act impulsively. Physical changes can also be a sign of drug abuse. The person may start to look very different, perhaps they'll have circles under their eyes, poor skin health, or changes in weight. Drug abuse can also have an impact on a person's hygiene habits. They may start to neglect their appearance or not care about their personal hygiene. Their social life may also change dramatically. They may lose interest in spending time with friends and family members, and instead spend all their time with other drug users. What to do if you suspect someone is on drugs? If you suspect someone is on drugs, talk to them about it. Showing concern and worry will demonstrate that you care. You're talking with your friend about the possibilities of drug abuse. If he or she still denies using drugs, then you may need to test for yourself. If you decide to test, be careful. You may pressure someone into doing something they aren't ready for, like entering rehab or quitting drugs. Be prepared for the worst and stay calm. Don't argue with your loved one about whether or not they are using drugs, because this may cause conflict that could worsen the situation. Also, it's important to not accuse someone of using drugs. This will only cause them to get defensive and close up. How to talk to someone about drug and alcohol abuse. It can be difficult for most people to admit they are having a problem with drugs. Therefore, you will need to make your friend feel comfortable by talking in private about the possibility of drug abuse. If there is a good reason to believe your friend might be using drugs, don't just assume it and accuse them of doing something you have no proof of. When talking with someone about drug abuse, always ask open-ended questions that start with what, when, how or why. A good way to approach this is to be supportive and not accusatory. For example, instead of asking, "Do you do drugs?" ask, "Do you think there's a chance that the people around you might be pressuring you into doing something illegal?" Always keep your tone of voice calm and make it clear that you are only trying to figure out what is best for them. What resources are available for those struggling with addiction? There are many resources available for people who struggle with drug addiction. These include counseling, treatment programs, support groups, and rehabilitation centers. When a person has a substance use disorder, they can benefit from talking to a professional counselor about their issues. This is because counselors have experience in dealing with these types of issues. They also have the skills to help their clients work through difficult emotions that may be stopping them from getting clean and sober. Counselors can also give advice on relapse prevention to learn how to avoid falling back into drug or alcohol addiction. Advice might include finding new hobbies or activities to fill the free time of somebody who used to use drugs to fill their time. It is important to remember that it can be very hard for drug addicts to admit they have a problem and ask for help. This means the people around them should watch out for signs of drug use and offer to help when appropriate. A person can access counseling through rehabilitation centers, support groups, or psychologists. One of the best ways to find counseling is through a rehabilitation center. These centers are set up to provide professional assistance to people who have signs of drug abuse problems. Counselors at these centers can also help the loved ones of a person with a drug problem by offering support and advising them on how they can best support their addicted loved one. A support group is another great resource for people struggling with addiction. These groups are made up of people who all have problems with drugs, and they meet regularly to give each other advice and support. Support groups can be a good choice because they allow a person to talk about their issues with people who completely understand what they are going through. Another option for people struggling with drug problems or withdrawal symptoms is to seek help from a psychologist. Psychologists are not always able to offer the same level of support as a counselor or support group, but they can provide people with advice and strategies that will help them overcome their alcoholism and drug dependence. If you suspect that someone you know might have a drug problem, encouraging them to get some professional help can help them. It is important to remember that it might take a long time for your friend or family member to admit they have an issue and ask for assistance, so you should offer support when appropriate. How to get help for a loved one who is addicted to drugs. Substance abuse has the potential to ruin someone's physical and mental health, but it is still very much underreported. If you think that someone you love is addicted to drugs, it's important to get help as soon as possible. There are many resources available, including drug rehab centers and support groups like Narcotics Anonymous. The first step is to talk to the person about your concerns and offer your support. You can also call a hotline or find a support group in your area. There are no easy answers or quick solutions, but you have the power to change a life.